In the first century, the early church earned a bad reputation. I mean, it wasn't a reputation that was just imposed on them by society. No, the actions of the church actually earned them the reputation that they were receiving. And yeah, we could point to a lot of different things that the Christians were called, negative names, a lot of different assumptions that were being made about the church, like they were cannibals. But one of the key bad reputation elements that they received from society was that Christians were people that broke down barriers. Now on the surface, you're like, well, how is that a bad reputation? Because what you don't understand is that society intentionally puts up barriers at times to justify actions that they want to do and do not want to be held accountable for. Let me give you a key example from Matthew chapter 19. Matthew chapter 19, Jesus is his ministry is in full throttle. He is out there, he is preaching, he is gathering crowds in mass. And in chapter 19, Jesus leaves Galilee and he goes into the region of Judea on the other side of the Jordan. In verse 2, it emphasizes large crowds followed him and he healed them there. Then comes verse 3. Some Pharisees came to him to test him. They asked, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any and every reason?" This was a hot button topic of the day. As a matter of fact, you had these two rabbis, prominent rabbis, very well respected rabbis, who had two very different interpretations of Moses' laws on divorce. One of them believed that you could divorce a woman for anything. Anything. Burnt toast, divorce them. One of them believed that you could divorce a woman, but it was much more strict. That you actually had to really focus on a particular issue that would give justification for the breaking of this union. So you have the liberal and conservative spectrum. Sound familiar? They're asking Jesus, are you liberal on this issue? And Jesus turns the question back on them to reveal a barrier that they've put up in their heart that he is looking to tear down. Verse 4, "Haven't you read," Jesus replied, "that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female?" Now here's why that's interesting. Because the verse that he is quoting there in verse 4 is Genesis 1:27. And specifically, it doesn't just say that the Creator made them male and female. Specifically, it says that he made male and female in their own image. In the image of the Trinity, male and female were created. Immediately, Jesus begins to target what the real issue is. Dignity of women. Haven't you read, he says, that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female. In the image the Creator made them. And then Jesus takes it up a whole new level. And he said, "For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh." He's quoting there Genesis 2:24. Why is this important? Because what he's trying to demonstrate is the value of women that is being overlooked in the question. The question is this: can a man divorce a woman for any and every reason, or does the man have to come up with a specific justification to divorce the woman? But notice what the question doesn't ask. Can a woman divorce a man? Now here's why this is important. I'm not going to get into, the whole issue of, women can divorce men. No. I'm talking about what Jesus is targeting. He is targeting the view in the ancient world that women are property. That women are no different than a table. And that if your table begins to rock, liberal position, that you can throw the table out for any and every reason and get a new one. Or the table might be sufficiently breaking down. So again, you can have a good justification to actually dispose of the table. Whenever it comes to property, you can dispose of it and even justify your disposing of it for any and every reason. What Jesus does is he says, stop looking at the women as property. For they were created in the image of God. And don't you even know that whenever you wed, whenever you give your vows in marriage to the wife, you are united as one. So why are you treating the woman as if she is not a part of your very body? Is that the way that you treat your eye? If it begins to itch, do you have the question, should I gouge it out? Absolutely not. Why? Because it's a part of you. And what is a part of you, you give dignity to. Jesus then goes on, he says in verse 6, so they are no longer two, male, woman, dispose of her as if she doesn't even matter, but they are one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. Stop looking for a way out. Stop looking for a barrier to put between you and women. Stop looking at them like property. Verse 7, why then, they asked, did Moses command that a man give his wife a certificate of divorce and send her away? In other words, they say, oh, but Jesus, there's a flaw in your logic because Moses actually commands it. Oh, and then Jesus turns it around and he says, let's really expose what Moses was talking about. Verse 8, Moses permitted you to divorce your wives because your hearts were hard. The problem is always that your heart is looking for a boundary. It is looking for a barrier. It is looking for a reason to justify selfishness. He says, but it was not this way from the beginning. I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife except for sexual immorality and marries another woman commits adultery. Now here's my point. What I'm actually saying is not a discourse on divorce. As a matter of fact, I'm going to set aside the issue of divorce because it's a lot more complicated than what we want to give it credit for. Instead, what I want to focus on is the actual thing Jesus is targeting in the text that rests beneath the attitude of divorce that is brought to him by the Pharisees. And it's this. We cannot pick and choose who we treat with dignity, who we treat with honor, who we treat as if everyone or only a select group of people were created in the image of God. No. As Christians, we break down boundaries. We break down barriers. We break down the societal ways of treating people without dignity because all people were created in the image of God, male and female. All races were created in the image of God. As a matter of fact, what this text does is it challenges us to actually look at everyone in our life, friend or enemy, male or female, Jew or Gentile. And it forces us to ask this question. Do your actions and do your words give dignity to other people, or do they construct boundaries and barriers? Whether the person looks like you or thinks like you. This is what Jesus is compelling us Christians to do and to be about. We break down boundaries and barriers that separate us from other people. And instead, we embrace the beauty of the reality that we were all created in the image of God and deserve to be treated as such. This week, I want you to wrestle with this question. What boundaries have you put up, or what boundaries have you reinforced by your words and by your actions? And then do what Jesus did. Start looking for ways to tear down those boundaries and barriers, because in Christ and through love, they're no longer needed because he set us free. I love you guys. Have a good week.